And verified it was.
How about somebody wants to plug in a flash drive and put something up there? Can
So
you
this laptop right down there,
go in here?
yeah, and then you can put it up, it'll come up, move it from this screen to that, and then up on all those TVs up here too.
I was a question. I was told, I guess. That's what we had.
I gotta go unlock the front door.
And I did bring.
Entrance.
That needs to be. That was for Dale to show you where to get the.
Yep.
I know, they don't roll very good.
USB right there.
It's like Vegas.
So it should come up here.
Yes.
Where's it gonna come up at over there?
Oh, yeah, I don't have, here, this one.
Okay, so we'll look at, I think it's presentation reports.
Where's the mouse?
Is it on? Look on the bottom and see if they have it on.
I think the batteries do.
There, it looked like it moved well.
There it is, it's somewhere.
I'm sorry.
Where the heck is it? How do I get the mouse? I can't.
Oh, it's so temperamental.
Oh, there it was, there.
It must have
Okay.
been up over there. Oh, because it goes east TV.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll be back.
It's a hot day to be out wandering. No.
But I can.
Okay, I want,
I don't even know where. It's gonna be a game, it'll be a game.
Oh, no, no, I
I
told
don't think
you.
they want them up yet.
Sure, because I'll move it over to the big screen.
We just ready?
We're done. I'm just going back. And you only have to-
I know that.
No, you're not.
It's probably not.
Definitely is not my fast one at home.
Yep.
We do that and then there's.
Especially since we're shipping all of our, so right now we're out of here. It's coming from Big Stone. And the commission taking over, we got a hydroelectric.
We're as nomad as you can get.
Oh, yeah. So it's hard to get them on that transmission, probably get the money for it, so.
It goes on two sides, that's what the deal is, it's got two screens.
We'll see. We'll see how badly you want to do this, right? If you can find your way in.
120% power, yeah, 100%. This is.
Let me just,
Okay.
it was this morning, I just did one.
We have the long-awaited three-ring binders that just had tabs in them, and some of them, because Patty, we're recycling these from Patty.
I had it so I could find them right away, and then I can't find
They
them.
have labels like 2020 budget on them,
Oh.
so we didn't peel all of them. So we also didn't go back and remake copies of everything that you have received. So we have tabs for budget and one for each of the three subjects. So if you want to organize your own stuff, you can. If you don't want the binder, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm asked.
Tell me to do ours?
Would you rather do that? Look at your laptop?
Well, I still gotta find where, yeah, because it would tell me where I put it.
Yeah, if you plug it in, just plug it in right there.
Okay.
I'll see you.
I don't know, it's like my college fees.
Empty, huh?
No paper.
See, it was down here, wasn't it?
Well,
Don't put it in until I get it pulled up.
I don't know, do you have a receptor like that? I don't think.
Yeah, on the other side.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and get started. Thank you all for finding us. Our preferred location for the task force. And what we do, it's easier for the video conferencing from here, so we'll probably stay here. If it works all until the commission chambers are available after the election or elections are complete. This is what we do advance notice of. So, Fred's got your binders. If you find that you can't find something and you want to get a copy again, you would let me know. I'll work with Patty. We just didn't want to reprint hundreds of pages of stuff collectively for all of us, since everybody has received those copies at one time or another. So if you find there's some report or some handout that we've had that you can't find, let us know and we'll track that down. So, but a couple of things that we wanted to follow up on, from our last meeting. And, some of that.
Which one we're gonna cover first?
About,
We can see.
on limitations, for tax, revenue county. That's what things, so, we have been sure that we have a good understanding of that, but we go through this process, rest has to be dealt with. Guidance today, so we appreciate her coming. And, if you still have those handouts or not, if there's things you want to reference, so maybe just a 10,000-foot overview of kind of the limitations of where we're at with the county, because the community, I get comments, people would say, well, if there's not enough money coming in the county, then you've got to raise the taxes. Well, it's not quite that simple.
And that's not really equalization's necessary forte, that's more of the auditor. But just a quick overview, I know you were talking about campground earlier. Our equalization's job is to be fair and equal and at market value for all the properties. So within that, you know, people will see us out and about doing appraisal projects. Well, the county needs more money, so you're gonna up our value. Has nothing to do with anything about that. We have a timeline of when we're viewing the properties. We're on a, it's projected, you know what, that you could do 7 to 10 years to physically view all the properties. We're on more of a 10 to 12 year cycle of physically viewing all 15,000 plus parcels in Yankton County. So we about every 7 to 10 years, we physically view your home. It's not because so-and-so put an addition on their house next door. It's not, you know, it's this summer we're doing small towns and commercial properties. It's just their turn. So speaking about budgets within the county, so the county cannot grow, and I'm assuming you guys know this, but the county cannot increase their budget by anything but CPI plus growth. This past not this past one, 2025 legislative session, they capped the amount of growth that you can use, or what you can count for growth. So previously, our growth was right around 1.2% roughly. This past year for 26, it was 0.9 because of what they're allowing us to count as growth. Before we could count a new debt, we could count an addition to your house. Well, the addition to your house now has to be certain standards before we can actually count it as growth. You're still assessed that, which is a big misconception that we're not going to be assessed for it. It's just how it's counted in our office. It'll be counted as reappraisal and not growth. So the county budget cannot grow on as many items as others. The bigger counties, you know, Lincoln, Minnehaha, they also capped what owner occupied classification values can do as a total. So there's a 3% cap on the total owner occupied value. So from the beginning to the end of what your value can change for the owner occupied class. That means farmhouses, that means out at the lake, that means in the town. If you own and occupy your house, you're all in one classification for state purposes. We're not going to compare your houses if it sells for those purposes, but only for the state. So that can only grow by 3%. So if there is, for example, within this past year reappraisal, we were behind on some of the market value. So some properties did go up 10, 15%. but the whole, and they were owner occupied, the whole owner occupied classification could not go up more than 3%. We were sitting at 2.8. So what would happen if that were to happen, we would have a rollback. If I raised Hillcrest Grand and Lower Yankton, you know, and every neighborhood has their own ones, and out at the lake a different percentage. Well, if you raised them all 10%, but some neighborhoods were right where they were at, and you had a rollback, well, the rollback is applied to every owner occupied class. So they would actually get a decrease in value, lower than what they previously were because of that rollback. But that's honestly nothing that you guys have to worry about. That's all within our office. So if you see your property assessment going up more than 3%, it's because the whole owner occupied class didn't go up more than 3%. The county budget can go up by CPI plus growth. So it's 2.5% plus growth. So it was 0.9% for growth that's passed for 2026, which is what we'll be using for 2027's budget. For that. I guess what other limitations do you want to? I didn't bring my handouts that I emailed you guys earlier. Printed out. I'm sorry. There was all kinds of stuff in there. Here's all the state information that between TIFs and what of property values, and I did do some checking with this Senate Bill 96 with that county receipt tax. I don't know if you want to get into that now or do you want to wait?
Take a couple minutes.
Okay, so I talked with a guy at that Department of Revenue for a couple more of the questions. It is a half a percent. It'll go, it's a special fund that will be created just to offset the owner occupied levy in Yankton County, and just the county levy. It doesn't go towards any other levies. And once the owner occupied levy is met, then it'll go towards ag and other. But who knows if that will happen. It will be on all purchases. Basically what it is, if it's exempt for the state, it'll be exempt for the county. Is what he kind of said, an easy way to look at that. So farm equipment, those are exempt, that if you go to the doctor, it won't apply for. Let's see. And then anything, exact, within the city as well, they, that'll just add on to it. So you don't know, but like fertilizer for ag is exempt. So it's set up, that Senate Bill 96 was set up to follow basically what we're using for a current sales tax is what it says. But what it will do is the state will collect the money and then they will send us the money for that. And then it's within the auditor's department. It has to go into this special fund that they stated in there. They use a special name for it. And then that will offset that specific levy, what the county can collect.
So this is that. Say the credit back to the owner occupied, does that always trail them the following year, following?
Well, I tried to get that a little bit, so, basically, the law doesn't take effect till July 1, so the county cannot have it effective until January 1. And then it's basically February would be when the county would start getting the funds back. So it wouldn't, because your levies are annually, so it wouldn't actually affect the 27 mill levy, to go towards the 2028 payable taxes.
It can be passed either by the commission or both people.
Well, and that's what I discussed with them. The commission, basically, in my opinion and their opinion, 3 options: do nothing. They can enact it, which any ordinance or resolution can be referred by a petition to vote, or the commission can put it straight to a vote. And again, that would be, he's not an attorney, so he did say, should talk to your state's attorney to verify that. But that's how I read it also. Not that I'm an attorney at all.
Straight to a vote of the people, or straight to a vote of the commission.
either, so the commissioners can decide
Okay,
if they want it.
when you
and
said
then
option three, you said.
the commission can decide to
Okay,
refer it straight to the
okay, got it, okay.
as well.
So they could just vote again. And then if nobody opposes it, it's in effect, or,
Right,
so actually, it's kind of like four options.
Right, but any, I mean, they could vote it in and then it may, any resolution or ordinance may be referred.
Right.
So yeah, it may be petitioned, yes or no.
But the commission hasn't made a decision.
They can't because it's not law yet. They have to wait till after July 1st in order to, it's not even a law yet.
And then there's a 6-month run-up period before the collection actually starts.
For the collection, yep, and then it won't be actually setting that levy of the following year. That's how the books work. There's no possible way to change that levy next year.
There's not really a net fee to the town.
There's no gain with the
Not
county.
on it, right, fine.
It's definitely helping the owner occupied taxpayers. Well, if, unless the owner occupied is all paid for within that sales tax, then it overflows to ag and other equally.
That's what I was gonna say.
It would be, but we do have tourism, so. I mean, we're in a different situation, I would say, than either of our neighbors.
Explanation. Questions?
I apologize for coming in late. What did you say we can expect for growth percent? About one for next year or
No, 0.9, this was our 2026.
0.9? It's so I rounded it up.
Yeah, no, we can't do that. Yeah, but it's typically 1.2. It's been right in that area the past 5 years now with the new caps that 0.9.
CPI
They're saying 2.5.
2.5, so we're looking at property tax revenue growth of about 2.4, 3.4 total.
To increase the county budget as a whole. Yep.
Don't pay the gas bill. It's like that.
Want to pay for the increases that we're seeing now.
I think takeaway is for me, for our purposes, is whether that absent tax gets enacted or not. It's not going to solve financial challenges that the county has. It may help individual property owners, the owner occupied. But doesn't, it's not a solution in our discussions here.
Only from the standpoint that it is going to have some out of state or out of community payment of the sales tax that we're gonna replace. And maybe just possibly if the commission at some point decides, they have to decide this year by July 15th. They decide they're gonna do an opt-out, that might make the opt-out even easier to sell, I guess, you know, or lessening the property tax, cutting in half or more. Just a thought.
There's gonna be that lag time though, to see how much do we really generate this, and then to make those decisions. Not sure all those calendars are gonna move at the same thing, right? So we'll see. Other questions or
I mean,
comments?
when you see the revenues generated from tourism. Till. Like. Is there a month in lag on the collection results? I'm just before you really see.
The totals,
It's
right?
not even just from the start of the season to get any kind of, so this is a real delay. With the way that that even measure up, what it's gonna look like.
That's how property taxes are.
Mindful of time, thank you for that. I don't want to cut the conversation off, but we've got a couple of other longer discussion points, topic today. But any other questions? Thank you very much. And welcome to stay.
Well, that's all I use. Fantastic. Good luck.
Thank you. Our other follow-up item was on the financial reporting. I think Catherine, the last time, handed out a draft statement. Our discussion was to not make a recommendation for, against, tweak it, whatever, because it was the first time everybody was seeing it. It was at the meeting, so we rolled it into the agenda for today. And just to ask maybe Catherine, Jolene, anything else that you want to add? I would say, from the commissioner perspective, there was, I think, favorable feedback at the meeting about this particular format and additional information that they don't receive on the current reports.
So, the difference between what we showed you last time and this time is we took out the budget divided by 12 because we made the point that it's far better to not divide by 12, but to use a budget based on historical averages. So we removed all of those columns, which considerably reduced the size of the report. So that's really the only change that we made, isn't it, Joan?
On this one, yeah.
So it's just actual that our adjusted budget based on historical average in the prior year actual, and then the variances between those two figures with the actual. And then over in column G, you'll see year-to-date actuals, the proposed year-to-date budget, and the year-to-date actual for the prior year, and then the annual budget for 2026. Then over in column Q, it's the variance between the proposed budget and the year-to-date actual, the prior year-to-date actual.
And we did add those last two columns. They wanted to see, since they were used to seeing that on the other reports, we added. I don't think I had them on the first one.
Didn't you?
I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, me too. Okay. I couldn't remember. I just know I added them on something else, so.
Obviously, we want to receive the same. But, and Patty can't be here, couldn't be here today, obviously, with the election. She's busy with that and will be fine, but I would be comfortable with really this being our first recommendation to, other than our charter, I guess, would be to move towards this type of financial statement that to the commission.
Yeah, so the first time they would get it would be the end of June, right?
Right,
With
I won't be
May
here the next meeting,
actuals.
so the next one will be the week, the last part of June.
Jolene has not programmed it to make it user friendly for them to do it. She's-
That's okay, because we have to get this in front of the full commission, may say yay or nay.
Right,
So let's spend a lot of hours programming until we get that in front.
yeah. Well, we can send this. I didn't send it to John last week because he had asked for those changes. So we could send it to John, and Ryan asked for the next one with changes I made on the next one.
Okay, and the next one is the quarterly report that they asked to see. And
Just a second, let me get full screen here.
so the column B, F, and G is first quarter. Jolene, are you all the way over?
I'm getting there. I was trying to make it a little bit bigger, but
Yeah.
I hit it.
B through quarter.
Right,
The column B is the annual budget. Column C is first quarter of 2026 actual. Column E is first quarter's adjusted budget based on historical averages. And then column F and G is the variances between those.
well, it's the amount of money that's left. It's their cumulative budget. So it's like what you were seeing each month, they would get that
Yeah.
last column. It's their, what's remaining. So then when you get into column G and K or F and G, it's always going to be a cumulative. So it's going to be the first quarter and second quarter and then second. So it'll be first, second, and third quarter. And when you go into the third quarter, and by the end of the year, it'll be their year, their year, but Ryan wanted to see it. He says, well, we're used to looking at that, how the impact of the numbers come across. And so I added that, and I'm not sure if he hasn't seen it, so I'm not sure if this is the way he was, but when I talked to him, he said, yeah, I want it cumulatively each quarter, so we know how much is left of the budget as we go through.
Those were the two carryovers.
Yes, now the new one that we wanted to talk to you about is the cash flow analysis. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm getting it. Yep. I got the chart up and then I got the
so first off, I just wanted to give you a little commentary on why we do a cash flow analysis. It reflects your everyday business activity and shows whether the core business can sustain itself. You're extending beyond simple measures of profitability and shows the actual cash available to fund your operations. The benefits of doing a cash flow analysis, it shows your liquidity, your ability to pay your immediate bills and obligations. The red glasses on. It shows your financial health, identifying any trends, anomalies, or risks that could affect your solvency. Then the operational planning that determines if you can fund your operations, purchasing equipment, or managing seasonal fluctuations like we see with roads, with the road work in the summer and clearing the roads in the winter. And then strategic decision making, supporting the budget by revealing whether the operations generate sufficient cash to fund the operations. So it's critical to have this report prepared to determine the cash available for budget process, because it helps you visualize what months are causing you difficulties with insufficient cash. So, for example, we know that April and October is when our major cash comes in. So January, February, March might be a little bit short of cash. So it helps you look at those and determine if there's any inflows or outflows that could be a potential stumbling block for you during the year. When you're budgeting, you want a cash flow analysis to, number one, determine that you have enough sufficient cash to cover the budget. Number two, if there is sufficient cash to cover the months where the revenue is lower that we already said. Now, one point that I really want to make is it is very possible for you to live within the budget that's been approved and still have very serious cash flow issues. Because you can be cash flowing from prior years and depleting your revenue year after year until you get to the point where you have dipped into the well and there is no cash left, which is kind of the situation that we're seeing here.
I would say that is, in a nutshell, the concerns of the commission.
Yeah.
Is why we are here.
Exactly.
So again, she's talking about that part. You can look down here graphically is what I did the numbers to show. And you can see as this line is the cash.
So we feel based on this, it would be advisable to have a policy for minimum fund balance to ensure that cash doesn't deplete over time. Now, the difficulty that we have with that right now is that our cash reserves are getting so low that we might not be able to follow the policy to continue to fund them.
This is all conceptual. Some of these numbers, the first year is good. I couldn't get it to flow through right, so we have to try to figure out what it is that I'm not catching to make the cash flow
And
show the balances that from the beginning to the end. It should be the inputs added to the beginning balance and the outputs, and then should they come up with the ending balance? I'm not getting there, but conceptually, this is what a cash flow, so you got both ways. I know that some of the commissioners said they wanted it visually, so that's what you got visually here, or you can have the chart which is above
the
there.
numbers. Currently, we haven't been able to really accurately calculate the cash flow. We're trying to be respectful of the workload that the auditor's office has right now and not be demanding with data that we need to produce this report when she just doesn't have the time in her office or the staff to get us the information. So we don't have enough data to really determine the accuracy of this cash flow report. That's why we're not handing it out and saying this is what it is. We need to have a more in-depth look at cash account and some of the revenue and expense accounts to determine the accuracy of the report. Not right now, we see that there are problems. Jolene mentioned that a minute ago. But we don't know exactly what's causing that unless we can get into the accounts to figure it out. One area that we've got is the transfer out expense. So
That's this line right here.
when we, what we're assuming, and we have not talked to Patty about this, but we are assuming that what that is departments that are not in the general fund, roads and bridges is an example of that have overspent their cash. But they still, so that, the cash is going into the negative. So we're pulling money, so we assume that probably what the auditor is doing is pulling the money out of the general fund to beef that up so that they can pay their bills. Until we know differently, I'm assuming that's what it is. So in order for us to really complete this cash flow analysis, we would also need to extrapolate out those non-general fund departments to see what their cash flow analysis, if the emergency is another one. Yeah.
So you would do that by department, I'm gonna just call it enterprise funds, for like
Right.
description.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
coming in, what's going out, how are they flowing,
That-
and when
that-
do you have to draw in from the general fund?
Right.
That's a discussion Catherine and I had, and, so that's the next step, but my next step is not gonna be doing it for a couple of weeks, so,
But it's a question you start.
right.
Right, and Sue's helping us with this. Kathy was over at my house today and we were working on it, so, we've got a variety of people that are used to working on cash flow analysis, so, we've done what we can, now we're needing more data to go the next step. But any questions or concerns about why we do this or what the need is would be.
When did your graph start? Like what?
This is January or December of 24. I got December 24's monthly or the end of the year balance. And so they're like 24, 25, but even 24, when I have 23's ending balance and I brought in the income and I took out the expense and I don't come up with the same ending balance. So that's why we're trying to bring in these other accounts to see if they have an impact in there somehow. I don't know. And that's something, we haven't had a chance to ask Patty, how does this flow through? And that could be that it was down below.
Income, because it was, I don't know how many millions we got.
Shouldn't have been at 25.
24 is when we started. So 25 is when the graph shows the inputs.
Right, but what I meant though was, you got it at a certain time of the year, and you had so many years to spend it.
So,
So I don't know if that, I was just asking.
Yeah.
if that was-
And that's what we don't know. That's why we need to
yeah,
get,
that's pieces we don't know.
and we're trying to be very respectful of Patty's the auditor's department right now.
As we talked about that previous year cash rolling over. Are there any scenarios where that could be a positive, where there's more cash left over than what you expected from the budget?
Yes, we're not seeing that. So for example, in, between 22 and 23, I saw the cash drop in December of 22, December of 23, $2.2 million. Then the next year it dropped $3 million. And then the last year, it only $560,000. So it's precipitously dropping.
And that,
COVID money being spent.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It probably could be the COVID stuff, those 2 years.
But still, $560,000 overspending on cash is not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing, and it can all be traced back to a number of small and big bad decisions by our county commission. You know, they increased the highway budget 48% for a 4-year period. We didn't have enough COVID money to cover that kind of an increase. Last year, they finally rectified that, and they reduced it by 1.8 this year. But that did cost us a lot of our cushion, I guess you'd call it.
Mhm.
There's some other bad decisions they made, but that was the biggest one. That one was corrected this year finally. But,
Or the water's under the
We
bridge
have,
already.
we have some other departments that they had not been able to say no to. Had some huge increases. We have to put a stop to that. And I'll continue to do some research on the peers.
Brian, can we hold a peer discussion? And I do want to come back to.
Okay, that's fine.
But, I don't want to lose sight of that, but I want to make certain that in terms of statements from a conceptual perspective, knowing you don't have all of the data in there, but to have a cash flow analysis to the commission and frankly to the department heads, because you guys need to know how that's impacting the overall general fund as well. I think it's critical.
You know, I need to do more research like on our department. Because most of my wages, half of between my or Aaron's wages come at the end of the year. So the money's already spent. But we get half of it back to the state. Federal grants, programs that we do, pods that we do for some food clinics, all that stuff. That money for some reason doesn't come like yet in that fiscal year. It comes in the next fiscal year.
But
We've taken a lot of money out of this year, but now we got a little next year. So I mean, it makes our department look like we're just flushing it down the toilet, and yet we're not.
Well,
Something you should have had last year's money in this year, right?
Well, I'm assuming so. But if it went into the general fund, it doesn't come back into this, it disappears. And I've always had an argument with that, and I mean, I get nowhere, but what we spend or what monies we get for grant should be like, shows our budget back in the black. And last year we were in the red only because of the grants, the feds cut the funding company, cut the funding coming in. Then all of a sudden we got it late beginning of this year. So it's kind of a,
so you didn't think you were gonna get the money and then
Yeah, then all
they
of a
did
sudden-
send it.
that they send it, but it was after the fact and it goes in the general fund, but we don't see it again.
Well, you do, if they have to beef your cash back up, because at the end of the year where you might have been low, I assume general operations funded you.
Well,
Were you low?
yeah,
And that's what we're gonna do next, is go into each department, because we do have the information. It's just that we were focused on the general fund right now, and then we're gonna start going deeper. So, you know, like we're gonna do the roads, and we'll look at each one of them and look at the cash flow, how it goes through. Yep, wiggle it.
Be cognizant of the clock, because we have another
Yep.
15 to 20-minute discussion on the topic. So appreciate the work on that. Is there consensus that we should forward to the commission, the first 2 reports from a format perspective? And then continue to work on the cash flow analysis, and we'll look at that, whether that's in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever.
Or 6 weeks, it all
6
just
weeks.
depends on, you know, it's not slow moving, but getting answers is sometimes
Yeah.
slower. The biggest thing is we have to ask the right questions, because what we say like we say in the private sector to what they hear on, you know, if the county is sometimes different, you just have to talk through it to find out that we're talking the same thing, but we just have to get to the right spot.
Cash flow analysis is their way of isolating the COVID dollars, and they realize there's a delayed, you know, to your point, dollars received when
It
they're.
should be. I mean, I'm just saying
Yeah.
from my perspective.
Yeah.
Boone County, I would have had an account with COVID dollars in it.
And there might be, it might be in this charges, goods and services. I mean, I've got a lot, that charges, goods and services, it got 25 lines in it.
I think I have.
We have seen COVID. So I mean, and that might be what we pull out to show that those are coming through. You know, those are things that, you know, we put this together. I didn't want to do a whole lot of work and find out that you guys didn't want to do it. You know, now we can start saying, yeah, let's see what would make sense to add more detail.
Is that, have that isolated?
Yep.
Analysis more. Actually see that trend.
Right.
Having it isolated, and then you can see it with the COVID dollars over expended or under expended.
Okay,
The holding perspective. Not gonna solve any problems, it's just information in a different format.
I'm gonna send it to you then and you send it to them.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
do have another recommendation I'd like to send to them for whose consideration.
on the financial reporting.
Well, it's on the financial picture situation. So I just finished my budget for 2027. Tried to trim where I could, cutting out travel. Here's one thing, you have a 2.5% cost of living increase, which we were told is gonna be the cost of living increase next year. And I asked the auditor, what is our health insurance premium increase gonna be? She said, she's anticipating that our health insurance is gonna go up 11%. So that took my budget from a 2.5% increase to a 3.8, which unfortunately is more than the 3.4 that we can grow our budget, as Michelle just told us. However, I think we need to recommend to the commission, because they haven't been doing this in recent years. They tell department heads, we are not going to accept any budgets that go up by over 4%.
I think that's almost gotta be individual circumstance. So, for example, if, I don't know, you've got a service that is now mandated that we have to do that we haven't done in the past. Or, we have a huge tornado come through and take out part of town and Paul has got to replace equipment that was destroyed or supplies that were destroyed or used up. Things like that happen that can cause a department to go up, and mandating that it's not possible to do that, I don't think is always realistic.
Wouldn't that be a supplement? I mean, if I had a, like, 2011 flood, we spent right around $375,000 in sandbagging when Missouri River went up. My budget that year, that was the first year I was here, was $175,000. So, but they supplemented my budget, and then, yeah, we got FEMA money to offset it. Now, not every disaster is gonna be, FEMA's gonna come to the rescue. But wouldn't they, Brian, wouldn't that be a supplement at the end of the year, the commission would have to supplement my budget to offset that? So if we did have a 4%.
That's the transfer out that I was telling you.
Right, but what I'm getting at though, that would be at the end of the year, have to be approved, but if we put a 4% on everybody, it would have to be agreed by the commission to supplement it, or you can't do it.
We've had some departments, Captain, that have been going up double digits 3-4 years in a row. And they don't seem to understand we are capped in our revenue. That needs to be put across to them, because that's part of our problem.
You're speaking mainly just of salaries, people coming back mid-year asking for increases.
Right, I mean, we were told last year, don't budget for any step increases, but now one of those department heads is all of a sudden requesting step increases, the rest of it didn't even budget. I don't know where he's gonna find the money. I just think the commission needs the tighter control of their budget. It'll solve a lot of problems.
I'm gonna ask us to think about that one, or come back in 2 weeks, we'll talk about it again. The other side of it is, I don't want 4%, if that's the number, to become the entitlement. You were only gonna go up 2.8 or
2.5 until I heard the
2.5.
health
Well,
insurance.
wait, but now I can go up to 4%, so I'll find other things.
Well, hopefully not everybody hits that limit 4.
I understand, but.
I'm just trying to minimize the damage
Yeah.
as compared to our revenue.
I appreciate it.
And as far as increased revenue, I think the key there is, we have very efficient county in terms of property taxes per capita. I added 5 or 6 more counties to my comparison to show that we continue to compare very favorably. But I'm not gonna share that just yet. But I did email the State Department of Revenue to ask how many counties are doing opt-outs. Just got a response here as I came into the meeting. She says there's 19 counties that levy a property tax opt-out. Most of these have not been challenged by the voters. And I'd like to think with all the attention brought to our situation here, perhaps we would be challenged by the voters. But anyway, and of those opt-outs, 7 were for secondary road costs, which is what I think we need to help pay for that Stone Church Bridge. They need to do that by July 15th. And then the other 12 were for various things such as, juvenile court costs, juvenile costs, any kind of anything related to the court system. So 19 counties are doing it. And I think that's an option as far as additional revenue that we haven't even tried for 9 years.
We get that, and we'll get the other information. I don't know if we get to it today. Second item for the policy and procedure subcommittee, this will be very brief. The employee handbook, we've got information from Jack, the policy and procedure. The commission did approve the latest handbook. I don't know whether the new county information is part of that review process or not. At this point, I'm guessing not, because it was approved at the meeting after our conversation. So we'll find that out and to see if there is a need for that review. The policy and procedure side, Tom and I have talked, getting some more examples, but we would like to put together a group that includes department leaders as well, to decide what areas do we need policies on. Catherine referenced one in terms of general fund cash threshold, but what policies do we want to bring forward? And we don't think that, and they need to come back through this group as a recommendation to the commission, who ultimately would need to approve policies. Some of it may just be a reflection of how we're doing business now, and some of it may be recommendations for change. Some of the things that we've talked about in the past. So, but I don't want to just do that in a vacuum. You guys live with this stuff every day, and maybe you're too busy to do that process with it. But you're the two on the task force, so we thought we would start doing this.
I'd like the next meeting, whatever that is, if I remember it. Just to give you an example, like when I go to budget time, I have a one like this. Of what we actually do. I mean, it isn't just being here and answering the phone, between storm siren shelters, blah, 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 Red Cross stuff. Just to give you an overall of what our budget is used for. I don't know.
I'm gonna say, let's hold on that. If your department is one of those where the peer comparison group says, hey, there's 2 or 3 that we want to do a deeper dive. Then we want to invite you in to have that conversation. If they think, no, this looks reasonable compared to our peer group, then there's no reason why.
I thought at the last meeting, you wanted every department to come in and talk about what they do. Okay.
Right, probably not every department, because we're not gonna have that amount of time. Like, to get ahead of the budget piece. So we will set up probably a meeting on the week opposite of these task force meetings to start going through, and I will send you the outside counties policy procedures.
So next Thursday, the economic. I guess next Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was orange.
Right. Last but not least, in terms of the peer reporting, Kathy has done a deeper analysis, if you will. First of all, I think, Brian, thank you for all of your work. I know you've been to the commission, and I think you either have or you're going to the planning committee as well, with the data analysis that you completed. So that's I think a lot of great information for us that you reviewed with us last time. This is, I think, an example of one area where the initial review looks like maybe some numbers are high, so now we've done a deeper dive into the sheriff and anybody else. So I just asked her to share this information.
Yeah, I took a lot of Brian's information, and then I found a report out on the Attorney General's website. They had, done it just last fall, they did a survey of all the, county sheriff and jail operations. And that was like a 50-page report, so I kind of clicked through and looked for different data elements. And then, there's two sides on this, the one side that says staffing data, that's kind of what I pulled from their survey. They showed full-time, part-time, they didn't show FTE like Ryan has, so I didn't have all the good comparative data. They showed warrant officers and jail staff. They also tracked a lot of, workload data, like 2024 calls to deputies. So I pulled back, they had things like warrants served and, all sorts of information. Then I pulled for jail, they had, total prisoner days, and then some of the counties, but not all, reported other counties or federal jail days, so I pulled that in. Jail capacity for each one, and then they reported their daily fees and whether they charged room and board, and then what their revenue was. And then also they had, I pulled the expense budget, I think that's been running, so I pulled that data, and then on the other side, I tried to do some calculations. So I pulled the population that Brian had, square miles, and then they had put in their report population per deputy to kind of get a feel for that, square miles per deputy, calls per deputy. So I calculated those, and then jail revenue, total revenue divided by the total days, total jail days. And then I tried to do that for the federal and other county days, but not all the counties supported that. And then I just did a total, our cost, our expense data on the front for the jail. I took the jail divided by the total number of jail days and just did a cost per day. Yankton's really low on cost per day, but Yankton's also very high on number of jail days. We just have a visitor jail that we're looking at. So I just thought it was interesting. It raises more questions or more things we might want to dive into, but I thought I'd share that and then see if we can find some of those other pieces of data that I was missing. And I don't know, Brian, if you had found some of the other stuff too, so.
Well, I wanted to talk about is the difference department itself. I'm just trying to find some examples of why I think that there are some areas that need to be policed better. So I took our, most of the counties in my comparison had two deputy state's attorneys. So I took the salaries of each of those two. Our two top deputies are averaging $107,000 a year in salary. Lawrence County's top two deputies are averaging $88,988. Meade County, $98,138. Davison, $92,941. Cottington, $89,023. Clay, $86,174. Beetle County doesn't have any deputy state's attorneys. They're getting by with just a state's attorney, but we're quite high there. I think it's just symptomatic of the situation we have. We need to have tighter budget controls on some of our newer department heads who don't seem to understand we have limited revenue. I did want to say that I did add some more counties to my property taxes per capita. And we were at 354, which is the lowest among those six. Brown County is 502 per person, Brookings 436 per person, Clay 469 per person, Union also 502 per person. I'm still waiting to hear from Hughes County. Hughes County is pretty frugal, so I'm guessing they're gonna be pretty close to us. But we've been efficient. I think it's time to look at the possibility of an opt-out to help supplement some of the shortcomings.
I don't disagree with you, Brian. I think we got to prove that we're frugal to the average taxpayer.
Well, I'm just going by the per capita. I mean, you can always pick and choose a department like I just did, where I think we need to be a little more conservative. And there's nothing you can do about pay raises that have already been granted. But going forward, I just think we need to be more attuned to the fact that we've been raising them too fast, too soon, trying to get there too quick.
And balancing that with market.
Yeah, I'll use the example.
They have
Yeah,
deputies that go up faster or slower than EMTs or whoever else. So you guys, that reality of you got staff in the department, so.
an analogy I've used a couple of times is, and I'm not gonna tell you our sheriff is overpaid, but his pay went up from January 1st, 2025, to January 1st, 2026. It went up 15%. Previous two sheriffs, for 44 consecutive years, never had a 15% raise in any year. Not even sure they ever had 10. So it's the kind of thing we just need to get across to some of our department heads. You gotta rein it in. I know you wanna get to where you think you should be. You can't do it as fast as you're doing.
Talk about a couple of the departments that maybe needed deeper dive. And some of it, so
New department heads, that honestly, I don't think understand we have limited revenue.
so for those of you on your county subcommittee, are there departments that you would like additional information on?
I was trying to do some like road and bridge stuff, because it's big dollars. And miles of road and number of bridges, we were trying to figure out what kind of data, Catherine and I were talking about that, what we could use to come up with some stats to compare. It's hard to just use dollars, some of them are huge, but they have lots of roads and some of them have, it's.
Or bridges.
Or bridges,
One bridge can skew all.
Yes, yeah.
Using for the same, how many bridges?
Could you use like District 3 to pull that data? It's like we have all the GIS layers for all of our bridges and culverts and, but they do many other counties, so they would have.
Might have that
They
compared.
could tell you how many bridges Yankton County has, Bonham County. I think they do serve 19 counties.
DOT of the state breaks that down as well. They will give you a head count of the number of bridges that you have. Age of the bridges as well, is in that, we got that analysis where.
But some of them are also federal
Within our
bridges.
township.
I think Mike is well aware enough, Mike's the logic, he could probably give you a lot of that information.
One more note on that deputy state's attorney comparisons. All of the other counties have full-time deputy state's attorney. Our second deputy, who's earning $105,000, isn't even full-time. That's absurd. And then they had a fourth attorney. Why don't we get 3 full-time attorneys before we add a fourth and see how that works? Because we're paying for 3 full-time attorneys, more so than any other county in our comparison. I didn't like it when some of the commissioners were criticizing department heads for not knowing how to budget, and most department heads do.
Can't fix that one here.
Well, but I think the points that need to be aired, so don't ever feel to get aired.
So I've heard state's attorney's office, clerk's office. Public operate for emergency management.
And we can't go backwards, Doug, but going
No,
forward.
go forward, yeah, and that's all any of us can do. So okay, going forward, but, and then, roads and bridges,
And I think the answer there is definitely an opt-out. I think this, they approved this $1.4 million match for the Stone Church project, but they never actually had accounted for that when they were budgeting. And just assuming, I guess they're gonna take it out of the $5.4 million highway, 5.5. And, to me, that is an opportunity on July 15th to pursue an opt-out. Pay for that bridge match. Because it's such a good deal for us, as far as what we're getting for what we're paying. And it's, can't see the public confusing that, especially for specifically explaining what we're gonna do with it.
we've already committed to. And we've already committed to.
Yeah, I know, and hope they committed to it without budgeting for it.
And a lot of that project, like their last I thought about, it was specific. I mean, we need more money.
And it's been a
You
long,
gotta say what it's gonna be for. I mean, I can't do that with our fire district from where I'm from, you gotta basically say, this is how we're spending.
Let's hold, I don't want this to move into, here's how we're planning the opt-out discussions, like we're, it may get there,
But I'm just
not there today.
So on good news, I noticed on the sheet, the jail cost per day is significantly lower than everybody else's. I mean,
Yeah.
not by a little bit, by like huge amounts.
To look at what the operational costs, what's all included and not included in that
Is that fixed and variable costs or?
budget. I don't know where there's, so I would think if you're gonna delve down, you wanna look at what's what's variable and why it is so low.
Yeah, it almost seems too
No, that's what, yeah, I don't know if some of the sheriff numbers.
That's based on, we exceed the others in terms of revenue in that area by a good number. You know, we're almost 2 to 1 ahead of the others in revenue.
Right, but I didn't even calculate better.
Preston has made several comments about, he's made changes in the functions. For example, he eliminated hot breakfast for cold because he said very few of them get up to eat. And that was an expensive meal. So he just went to cold and it saved, you know, several dollars a meal. He renegotiated the contract for the food service to get it down quite a bit. So, you know, he's done some things intentionally to try to reduce that cost per prisoner or inmate, whatever the proper word is.
At 5 o'clock hour, we're gonna start losing people. So I have a follow-up, we will take a couple of financial reports. Mission. Move in that direction. We'll start our conversations on policy development. Proposed. Committee, and on the peer committee side, I'm gonna ask that we have deeper drill downs on basic attorney, sheriff, emergency management, department, and then roads and bridges. However, you, as a subcommittee, want to collapse, if you want to prioritize those, and, but I would also ask that as you do that deeper dive, please involve that department leader in that conversation as well, so that they're not outside of the discussion. Doesn't mean you won't have interesting discussions or different perspectives, but they need to be part of that before we bring it back in.
What did you read in June? What days?
June 9th.
Thank
The
you.
9th and the 23rd, so.
Yeah, those are the schedule break.
Yep, so, so everybody's clear. If the governor's race does not go to a runoff, we'll meet at the government center. If it does go for a runoff, we'll have to meet here again.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anything else? Before we start?
23rd,
Nine.
9th and the 23rd.
Still staying at 4 o'clock, correct? Works best for everyone. Yep.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you, everyone.